heard of Spielberg, Scorsese, Michael Bay, and Tarantino, but how many black female directors can you name, right? We're seeing improvements when it comes to representation on screen, but off screen, it's a whole other story. Studies show that in the film and television industry, women, and more specifically black women, occupy a dismal percentage of roles with creative input. It's something award-winning producer, director, and writer Alison Duke knows all too well. She joins us now to chat about shaking up the industry. And Alison, it's so nice to see you again. It's been a while. I'm going to get right into it because we got a lot to cover here. Even now, directing is typically a white man's job. Women of color didn't see themselves represented in that role, I'd say, as recently as Ava DuVernay on a global scale. So growing up and not seeing yourself represented in media can be discouraging. What pushed you to get into filmmaking in the first place?
It was just that, the lack of representation. I remember in the mid to late 90s, I was, a very big fan of hip hop and R&B, and we didn't see that much representation in music videos of Black Canadian artists. A lot of what we saw was, being imported from the United States. And there was two shows called Rap City and Extendamix, and some of our friends, some friends that I had, we got together and we decided, hey, why don't we make some videos of our friends who were musicians and see if we can get them on to those shows? And we did. And after that, I just fell in love with the medium and thought, hey, you know what? There's more that can be done in our industry and in our society about seeing Black talent and Black people on screen telling our stories. And from that point on, I just went for it. I just stayed in the industry making content about Black people in the Black community.
Music videos were like that little entryway for so many Black directors to start telling our stories. And I think that that's so incredible that that's how you started. And I knew your name from back then. Your name was percolating around back then, which is incredible. Now, you worked on a film called Cool Black North, speaking with the winners of the Harry Jerome Award, one of the most prestigious awards for Black Canadians. And I was fortunate enough to hang out with you and be highlighted in this film. And a common sentiment echoed by your subjects is that there was no room to be average throughout their careers. So I wanted to talk to you about the idea that Black people have to work twice as hard for less. Are there significant challenges you faced as a queer Black woman in the industry? And what keeps pushing you to be so successful?
Oh, yes, there's so much to unpack there. First of all, I want to just, address the whole thing of working twice as hard to get ahead. And what people mean by that is working twice as hard for getting any kind of acknowledgement or recognition, getting financial support for what you want to do, getting promotions. And, I was so surprised that when I, was making Cool Black North, that there were so many people who have achieved such heights in their industry, from science and technology to the media arts to the educational system. And it was really, really interesting that there was so many people that we can find, but yet we hear time and time again from Canadian employers that they can't find Black talent to fill certain positions. The level of talent and the level of excellence was so high. Mm-hmm. And so for me, that was a real learning lesson. And for me as a Black woman in Canada, that there's, we can't always listen to what we hear in the media about Black people.
So much talent in this country. Now, let's talk about the challenges you faced as a queer Black woman in the industry.
Yes, there's so many barriers there. One of the things that they tell us in the industry very early on is that you have to be successful, you have to make films about what you know, do what you know, produce what you know. But yet, time and time again, when we go to pitch those films, broadcasters would tell me, well, that's too niche. I don't think the average Canadian will relate to your story. And so, that's, really jarring, because you're told one thing and then at the same time you're told, what you know is not what people are interested in Canada. And I have a real problem with that because we push this narrative of our country being, diverse, like diversity is our strength. But I think sometimes it's just lip service. I think, people have to really be active in that. And if diversity is our strength, then we should be open to hearing diverse stories. That's why we founded an organization called the Oya Black Arts Coalition. And we have different programs for emerging filmmakers and mid-career filmmakers. And for the emerging filmmakers, what we wanted to do is to provide a safe space for them to get more training in their field and also have more access to the industry. And we find that after 4 years of running our Oya Emerging Filmmakers program and 60 alumni, that things are slowly changing. We have young people working at major broadcasters now. We have our young people making work that are winning Canadian Screen Awards. And it's just fabulous to see that growth and what can be done if people come together and support young voices. When I came into this industry, I did not really have any mentors. I kind of, like I said, with the music video thing, I kind of rolled up my sleeves and kind of got into it and tried to figure it out as I went along, making a lot of mistakes, a lot of bad choices. But we wanted at Oya Media Group to kind of take that away, remove all those barriers and make it easier for Black creatives, especially the young ones coming up, to find a career in this industry, because it's very difficult for anyone. And if you don't have mentorship and if you don't have support, you can get lost.
Well, we're thankful you're doing it. One last thing, because I got to give you some time for this. You're actually exploring this HIV, how HIV impacts Black and Indigenous women living in Canada. This is such an important story. I just want to know why it's important for you to share these women's stories.
Well, as a person who felt, marginalized in Canada for almost all my life, I think it's important for me to also look for other voices that are marginalized. And when I came across, this story about Black, Caribbean and African women living with HIV, and also Indigenous women living with HIV in Toronto, and how they were facing tremendous stigmatization and discrimination and isolation, and not getting the proper services that they deserve in our healthcare system. I just thought, I need to do something about it. And, when I made those films, I made about 4 or 5 films on HIV. When I've been making those films, I slowly realized that people don't understand that HIV and AIDS is no longer a white gay man's illness. Black and Indigenous women have the highest rates of new infections. And I just thought, we really need to know about this, and we really need to do something about it. And because, I've been working with various organizations who work in this sector, AIDS services organizations, we were able to make changes. In fact, one of the films is Positive Women Exposing Injustice, really helped change the laws around non-disclosure, because women were, Black women and Indigenous women were being criminalized for not disclosing their status in different situations. So it's just, a really important mission of mine, and I'll continue to make work about women living with HIV and including it in anything I do.
Alison, thank you so much. I mean, for all you do, thank you for joining us. You're doing work that's actually leading to legislative change, which is incredible. So thank you. The industry desperately needs you and all the stories that you're allowing to get out there.